Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Want to know why this billionaire gave away everything he owned before he died? Well, stay tuned and we'll learn why.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, best-selling author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Ever wonder if you have enough money to retire? Must be a good question asked by lots of people, seeing as those studies reveal that the number one fear of savers in retirement is running out of money. So the question we all eventually ask ourselves is this: how much money is enough? Well, world-famous billionaire Chuck Feeney asked himself this same question. Apparently, after slaving away for years to build out duty-free shoppers, old Chuck realized that a worry-free retirement didn't require all those billions of dollars after all. Instead of waiting to croak and leave these billions after he died, he decided to give it all away before he died. And while Mr. Feeney was smart enough to hold back a cool $2 million to cover his basic needs, his response to giving all of this money away now versus later was this: "I couldn't be happier." Sounds like Mr. Feeney discovered what I've been preaching for years: you really don't need as much money in retirement as you think. Well, welcome folks to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement needs planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And on today's show, I'm going to show you why the financial world continues to scare you to death in terms of this idea that you need a gajillion dollars for retirement, and the difference between them and how we at Tony Walker Financial are properly equipped and trained to help you assess how much is enough for you, and how our game plan will show you how to use and enjoy this money for the rest of your life. But first, before we get started, let me introduce the producer of our show, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander, along with our meek and mild technical assistant, Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, it's one of the most frequent questions I receive on a daily basis, both from those who are already retired and those who are nearing retirement, and it's this one: Tony, do I have enough money to retire? And you know what? The financial world knows how confused you are on this subject, as evidenced by all of the articles written on this subject. Financial pundit after financial pundit, many of whom probably know very little about the needs of savers, are giving out advice to these various questions, such as when to retire, how much will I need in retirement, where do I invest my money during retirement, etc., etc., etc. This goofy advice and many of these lame-brained notions are coming from everywhere, and they are endless, to which, after working and meeting in person with over 15,000 savers, here's my response to this old-age question of how much will you need to retire. You ready? It all depends. So hold on to your 401k, because when I return, I'm going to show you the most important step you can take before ever making that decision to retire, and then, assuming you're already retired, how to explore this reason for why a billionaire would come to the conclusion that we really can retire on much, much less than we think. I'm Tony Walker. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To meet in person at no cost or obligation, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. We look forward to talking with you soon. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and our $100 winner this month of Live Well, Die Broke is a picture sent in by Debbie here in Louisville. A cool looking construction project they've got going on. And if you'd like to have a chance to win a $100 free gift certificate, all you got to do is send your photo to Gina at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's Gina at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Every month we do a drawing, whether you get on TV or not, we do a drawing, random drawing for someone to win $100 gift certificate. And thank you, Debbie, for sending that in. Now, in order for us to exist on planet Earth, us humans basically have three needs that we have to survive: the need for food, water, and shelter. Retirement planning is the exercise of trying to save for that day when we will quit working and for our needs that have to turn into money. In other words, we've been working for a paycheck to cover all these needs. Then all of a sudden, on some magical day, we got to take our savings and it's got to provide the same income to keep providing for the needs. The needs don't stop. We stop working and then we start spending our savings. That's what retirement is. Oh, speaking of meeting one's basic needs in retirement and keeping things really simple, check it out. My granddad's actual monthly pension from Bell South following his retirement in 1978. Something he called mailbox money. Look at that, $665 a month. Talking about living below your means. So let's agree for a second that we only need these three basic things: food, water, and shelter. If that's all we needed, planning for retirement could be really easy, just like back in Granddad's day. All you have to do is spend about 26 minutes listening to this show, right? No, you wouldn't be watching this show. You wouldn't need a retirement planning specialist because it would be so easy. But there's a problem with all of these human basic needs. These needs eventually turn into bigger wants, a phenomenon economists call Parkinson's law. This law, coined after economist C. Northcote Parkinson, noticed this about our human behavior. He once said, "A luxury once enjoyed soon becomes a necessity." In other words, what Parkinson noticed is that when we get a taste of the good life, a luxury, let's say, of some kind, we soon begin to turn that luxury into a need. You know, back in the first half of my life, I was definitely afflicted with Parkinson's law. In 1984, 1 year out of college and now married to my high school sweetheart Susan, my father-in-law offered me a gig working in his insurance firm with a starting salary of $11,500. Lucky for me back then, Susan was working full-time as a nurse to keep us afloat. Now, I remember at that time I thought, boy, you know, if I could just one day make $50,000 a year, that would be perfect, and that'd probably be all I would ever need. Well, eventually, I did make $50,000 a year, and that's right, Parkinson's law set in again. So instead of 50, I thought, boy, one day if I could just make six figures, I know that's all I would ever need, which I did. Until, of course, 1991, when my business hit a wall and I started going backwards. Again, lucky for me, my wife Susan was still willing to slave away as a nurse working the night shift at the local hospital, so fortunately I could keep plugging away at building my financial practice. Fortunately, through hard work and financial support of Susan, and quite frankly a little bit of dumb luck on my part, today, after all of this hard work, we have enough.
Yeah, man, we got enough money to buy this place.
You see, whether you have a lot or barely enough just to get by, it really doesn't matter. What matters is not what I have or what your neighbor has or what you think you should have, but what you need. That's all that matters. The problem is most people I meet do not have a written game plan to help them with this most basic exercise in the retirement planning process, determining what they need. And it is the key to know what you need before you start thinking about retirement. You see, to be worry-free, you got to start here. And to help you determine how to do that, at Tony Walker Financial, we've created something I call the spending plan. And by the way, this is a free download. You can go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and get this download absolutely free. But let me explain for a minute how this would work. And again, you don't have to fill this out. You may already know what you're spending, but this is how helpful this is. First of all, it starts with all of your monthly income. What we do is we help you plot out your monthly income, and that includes things like wages, rental income, Social Security, could be a pension, whatever. Then notice everything is broken down, all of your expenses, everything you could think about. In fact, sometimes when people fill this out, they'll say, golly, I didn't know I had that many expenses going on. Well, the reason this is so detailed is for that very reason. You've got to list all of your expenses and know exactly what you're going to need in retirement. Again, you can't go anywhere moving forward until you know how much money we need to be sending you. Now, so let's assume you have your spending plan done, or maybe you already know what your expenses are and you meet with Tony Walker Financial for a free assessment. What the heck happens then? Well, it even gets better, folks, because then that's when Tony Walker Financial really shows off our wares. And one of the folks to help us with that, we call it an income plan, is our own Lisa Allekamp in our Bowling Green office. So right now we're going to go to a Zoom call with Lisa to explain exactly how our income planning software differentiates us from everybody else. All right, we've got Lisa Allekamp in our Bowling Green office. Lisa, of course, is in charge of all of our income planning. So Lisa, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Thank you, Tony. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, kind of go back in time just a little bit. Your background prior to joining Tony Walker Financial, if you could share that with us, please.
Tony, prior to starting here about 4 years ago, I primarily had a banking background. My background was in finance and accounting, and honestly, I didn't know a whole lot about retirement planning when I started. However, with the wealth of knowledge that you've shared and mainly the number of cases we work on each week, I've gained a true appreciation for the need for retirement planning.
Yeah, now if you would speak to that, that's a good point. As you've understood this role and learned more about retirement planning, what have you learned about this side of the business? What could you share with people about how complex it can be and the need to have accurate numbers and data?
Right. There are a lot of things that go into retirement planning. Most importantly, the software that you created that's designed specifically for our clients to give them an easy to understand retirement plan. We all get together as a team, we discuss the case, and based on your recommendations, I input the information to the software, and our software allows us to determine which accounts to access, which accounts to let grow. We take into consideration taxes, required minimum distribution, when to start Social Security or when to delay. It's an all-inclusive, easy to understand game plan that we're able to provide to our clients.
That's a great description, Lisa. So let's imagine someone's gone through this for the first time. I know you get a lot of feedback from people. What tends to be their reaction when they see the software and they see all their life's work kind of on this platform we've created for them?
I do get a lot of feedback from our clients, and I think I would describe their reaction as relief. They're relieved to see everything laid out in a game plan form, and of course, appreciation for the work that we put into it.
Well, Lisa, I so much appreciate you taking time. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to have another interview with you for next week's show because I want to go to kind of part 2. Our theme has been this idea of how much is enough. So we're going to go next week and talk about specifics with a case and how you lay that out, and then how I deliver that to the prospective client so they can make sure they know they can retire worry-free. So in the meantime, you make it a good one, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, we've talked about how to figure out what your basic needs are and how to calculate those. We've showed you how our proprietary software can lay out everything for your retirement, help you with a spending plan there. Now, the most important part of the show today, we're going to put to rest this notion that you have to have all this money to retire worry-free, and how I'm going to help you focus on your investments and understanding that you don't need as much in retirement as you think. I'm Tony Walker. You're watching The Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and our Tony in the Trenches comes from Josh in Bowling Green, and he asked, Tony, with all the changes in this country, stock markets at an all-time high, and the increasing levels of debt this nation continues to incur, how do I know if the money I currently have saved for retirement is enough, and is it the right time to start spending and enjoying some of this money? Well, to kind of answer Josh's question, I'm going to throw a question back, and that's this idea of how much money really is enough. And it's true, with the stock market going gangbusters at all-time high, and of course, as Josh noted, the nation's debt spiraling out of control, sometimes you just have to take stock, no pun intended, in exactly what are you trying to do with this money. So I'm going to have some fun here. Let's imagine I ran into somebody recently that had some stock, not this particular stock, but we'll use Apple stock as an example because Apple stock has done very well over the years. So here is the dilemma with owning money that is growing and appreciating like crazy. Let's take a look at Apple stock's growth. In 1984, this is interesting, if you put $1,000 in Apple stock and then fast forward to 2018, this is accurate, folks, this is pretty crazy, that $1,000 of Apple stock would now be worth $430,000.
No, really?
And you would probably say, my gosh, what a rate of return. And that's a wonderful rate of return. But here's the thing. I meet a lot of people that have never set up a game plan to use and enjoy the money they've created. So my question to somebody that might have had this kind of gain, and let's say they didn't even buy it in an IRA. This was just money they put in after tax over the years. My question is, when are you going to spend this money? And the person might say, under current tax law, well, Tony, I don't know if I want to spend it. If I sell that thing, I got to pay capital gains of 20%. I don't want to pay a bunch of money in taxes. And then I say, oh, okay, so you're not going to spend it now. No, I'll just let it grow. And then I might say, well, Apple's had a great run. Is there any guarantees that it'll continue to go? In other words, could Apple stock tank? And you might say, well, I hadn't thought of that. I guess it could. And then we look at current tax planning around this right now. Now, we don't know as we record this show on January 27th, 2021, we have no idea what the tax law changes are going to be, but here's some of the things they're thinking about. Number one, they're thinking about removing something called the step-up in basis on taxes for non-qualified stock, like this example of Apple. Well, what does that mean, Tony? That means, let's say if this person dies under current law, they leave that to someone, the entire amount, $430,000, will go to their heirs with no taxes. Zilcho. Now, under the current proposals, they're thinking about taking that away. That means when you die, somebody else is going to get stuck with the tax tumor. Not good. Here's the second problem. They're looking at possibly increasing the capital gains rates. So if you sit around and hold this stock and wait to see what happens and then sell it down the road, who knows, they may even take more of your money in the way of taxes. So you're saying, Tony, what is the point of this conversation? The point is, most people have not thought about money and how they're going to need it. So what I did, I created a nice graphic, and let's take a look at this, Derek. It's called the 4 needs of money. So folks, when you get into retirement planning, if you're a saver, we're not talking to investors and speculators here, we're talking to savers. If you don't have a retirement specialist that understands how to diversify, lay out your assets differently, and realize your needs are going to change over retirement, you don't have a retirement specialist. So let's take a look at this graphic and try to help us understand the 4 needs of money. The first one down there are the need now. Now this is where we talked about the spending plan. In case you're just joining us, you can download this free at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. The purpose of the spending plan is that bucket right there. We need to know exactly what expenses you need now. So let's say you just retired. Well, obviously you're going to need money to pay utilities, car insurance, home insurance, basic food, clothing, etc. You need to know that. So we have to have money positioned to meet those expenses now. The second place is money later. You know, one of the things I've seen in working with so many retirees as they get older, they don't want to run around and shop CD rates. They don't want to take risk, and that's where my beloved mailbox money using annuities really comes in. At some point during the second half of life, we're going to kick in that mailbox money so you'll never run out of money. What about the might need now? You know, you got repairs on your home, your car, things come up. Kids need something, grandkids need something. Folks, you have to have money positioned somewhere that's liquid that you can get at it. And a lot of times that's where we'll use our Charles Schwab platform because we can get access to that money lickety-split when you need it. Again, folks, retirement is an uncertain thing. Your retirement specialist has to be trained to position your money, not just slam it all in an annuity or throw it all in the market. It has to be positioned wisely so you can use the money when you need it, and it has to be positioned so you can get at it. And then finally, the might need later. Now, a lot of times this is just things we haven't thought about. It could be issues with long-term care, nursing homes. Maybe you got to help a child with a college or something like that. That money can be structured with insurance and other forms of assets to provide that kind of what we call might need money later. So folks, if you don't have a game plan that helps address all these four needs of money, why don't you do this? Why don't you log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started, or if you'd like, set up that 10-minute free fiduciary phone call to let us see how we can help you be worry-free in retirement. Well, what does the Bible have to say about taking stock in what we own and actually taking credit for what we got? Oh, this is some good stuff coming up. I tell you what, let me get a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. So you've worked 30 or 40 years slaving away at work so you can save away money into your 401k, and now you arrive at the biggest financial decision you're ever going to make, where to invest your 401k plan. Think about it. For all these years, you've had a steady paycheck, compliments from your employer for all of your hard work that you dedicated to them. But now, all of a sudden, you've got to figure out how to replace that paycheck with the money you've been saving. No wonder you're worried about what to do and who to trust with that money, which is why we at Tony Walker Financial are providing a brand new free service called the 10-minute Fiduciary phone call. And here's how simple it is to learn more about our services and our 401k rollover process. First, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Once there, click on the Let's Get Started button. You'll be taken to a page. Confidentially, you can fill out your information on the screen and then click below the best way for us to speak together. It could either be myself or one of our other trained fiduciaries. It's that easy. So what are you waiting for? Before you make a rash decision and blindly turn your money over to a complete stranger to invest, consider a name and a firm you can trust, Tony Walker Financial. And, oh, by the way, if you like, you can give us a call to speak to us at any time by phone by simply calling the toll-free number on your screen. I'll look forward to speaking with you soon. As I humbly look back over the past 36 years of working and learning the financial business, and of course the rewards that have come along with this journey, I must admit that had it not been for the assistance and encouragement of others, I would not be where I am today. Whether it was the love and support provided to me by my immediate family, the powerful influence of spending time as a youth around my granddad and watching how hard he worked to provide for his family, my father-in-law giving me the opportunity in 1984 to get into this business, all the financial mentors I sought out, and of course my wonderful staff, and yes, for sure, all of the thousands of clients who currently trust me to handle their money, I would be remiss if I did not include in this list of thanksgiving the one true source of it all, God. You know, thinking back over one's life's of achievements reminds me of the late great inventor Thomas Edison, who after inventing more than 1,000 gadgets and gizmos, had this to say about all of life's work. He said, "I really didn't invent anything new. I simply took all that was already there and put the pieces together to make something new."
You didn't build that.
You know, the Apostle Paul knew of a thing about this notion of giving credit where credit is due. In fact, in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 6 and 7, the Apostle Paul makes an interesting observation about the progress he and his disciples are making in building the church when he says, "I planted, Apollos watered, but God was causing the growth. So then, neither the one who plants nor the one who waters are anything but God who causes the growth." Ezekiel concurs with this in chapter 15, verse 2, and he says, "How is the wood of the vine better than any of the branch which is among the trees of the forest?" In other words, if you and I are simply branches attached to the tree which sustains us, how in the world can we take credit for the fruit we produce? Now, don't get me wrong, God's Word reminds us that nothing happens in this world without hard work, as stated again in verse 8, where Paul says, "Now he who plants and he who waters are one, but each will receive his own reward according to his own labor." In other words, us branches can't expect a lot of fruit unless we work. But in the end, whether we have a little or a lot, we must give God the credit for it all. You know, this attitude of gratitude keeps us rooted in His love and in His grace and reminds us that whatever we need, He's going to provide. He always has, and He always will. And that, my friend, is advice you can take to the bank. So how about you right now? What is it you truly need to retire worry-free? Do you even know? Well, if not, my question is, why not? You know, right now you have an opportunity to find out by someone like me, meeting in person with someone with this kind of experience who has worked with thousands of people, someone who probably has met with more people than any retirement specialist in the country. You see, not only have I met in person with over 15,000 savers, I've personally overseen 4,000 of our written game plans we have produced at Tony Walker Financial. I'd like to meet with you in person, and here's what we can do. Simply find out by phone or in person whether you can retire now worry-free. Or if you're already retired but beginning to worry about things a little bit, get a second opinion on how our process can help you use and enjoy your money before it's too late. This is my field of experience, and I know it very well. And best of all, we can talk by phone or in person at absolutely no cost or obligation to you. To get started, all you have to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. It's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started button. Your information will then be sent confidentially to our offices in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where our appointment setter, Shanna Petty, will reach out to you to set up an appointment with myself or one of our trained fiduciaries at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, I've really looked forward to visiting with you today. Next week, guess what? We're going to continue this How Much Is Enough with some additional information that will help you make a decision not only on retirement, but how much money you need to keep in your pocket versus spending and enjoying that money now. But you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.